Alright, I'm starting this video off with a bit of a hot take, but I actually didn't mind the first Percy Jackson movie.
You need to leave!
As a kid, I didn't read shit. I didn't read my first chapter book until a couple of years ago. And so my first introduction into the world of Percy Jackson was watching the movie. And yeah, I never liked the second one, but that first movie, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, used to be my shit. So naturally, as a person who liked the movie as a kid, when I heard that they were going to do a TV adaptation, I was really excited. Especially now as an adult who has written my own books and who has started my own book series, hearing that Rick Riordan was going to play a pivotal part in the production of the show, I got really excited. So in preparation of the show, I read the first book. And then I decided to rewatch the first movie, and boy, oh boy, do I have very strong feelings on it. So in this video, I am going to be reviewing the first Percy Jackson movie, and only the first because I cannot touch the Sea of Monsters right now. I would literally have a mental breakdown. And I will go over my personal feelings on the TV show sometime soon, but for right now, we're just gonna have to stick with the movies. When people talk about the Percy Jackson movie, one of the big things they talk about is the fact that the characters don't act like themselves. Percy, Annabeth, and Grover don't act like how they do in the books, making this adaptation feel more like a retelling of the original story with different characters in their place. And I think that's the best word to use when talking about this adaptation. It's more of a retelling. It's repurposing the original plot and the characters to create an entirely new story. And of course, with a work of art that has such a rabid fan base as Percy Jackson, this is going to alienate some of the fans of the original books. But repurposing the story isn't the worst thing that this adaptation does. It's just the fact that it's bad. The main problem with this story is the writing. The writing is just really fucking bad. Take, for example, the fact that Percy gets to camp, is immediately told he is the son of Poseidon. He isn't claimed, but is told of his lineage. And then directly after that conversation, Capture the Flag happens. In the book, Percy gets claimed during Capture the Flag. He basically gets jumped by a couple of older kids, and then Poseidon gives him the strength to beat their ass. Which, in my opinion, works better. Primarily because of the fact that we know and already dislike the bullies that are beating the fuck out of Percy. And the fact that up to this point, Percy's father has remained a mystery, not only to him, but to us as well. While in the movie, he isn't beaten up by Clarice, but he's beaten up by Annabeth. And that doesn't work because in the movie, you can tell that those two are gonna fuck as soon as they see each other. Despite the fact that this is a 2-hour movie depicting an 8-hour long book, this movie feels like it drags so much longer than just reading the book. Not only is this plot completely new, it's so much worse than the original. The only good thing I can say about the movie's plot as compared to the books is I really like the fact that Poseidon does not help Percy whatsoever throughout the entire journey. This makes Percy hate Poseidon even more than he did before. So now not only does Percy have an issue with Poseidon walking out on his mom, he also has an issue with the fact that Poseidon refused to help him through the entire journey, but still had the nerve to come up in his face and say, "I'm proud of you, son." But you only get one conversation about Percy's relationship with his father at the end of the movie where he's speaking to his father. And it's not even cathartic because Percy basically just says, "Yo, I still don't like you," and then he leaves.
Don't care, still don't care, I don't care.
One of the big themes tackled throughout Percy Jackson is, should you trust the gods? Is it right to trust the gods even though they're your parents? Percy doesn't really like Poseidon, even in the books, but he doesn't make that his character, if that makes sense. Luke's hatred for his father is what drives him, is what makes his character, while Percy just kind of doesn't like his father. And Luke is great in this movie, and so is Percy's "I don't want to be affiliated with the gods" attitude towards his father. But the problem is the fact that it's brought up so little throughout, it barely makes an appearance. All of this talk about the writing, and we've still yet to go over the characters themselves. Spoiler alert, they all fucking suck. I think it's hard to do Annabeth's archetype wrong, right? She's just the strong female lead who gets shit done. That shit's just easy to write. However, this movie misses the mark so fucking bad. The main problem that I found with this version of Annabeth is the fact that she wants to fuck Percy immediately after meeting him. And hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. But the problem is the fact that the movie wants its cake and wants to eat it too. The movie wants Annabeth to be the Annabeth from the books, the one that doesn't really trust Percy all that much, the one who's kind of off-put by him, but also wants you to think that these two people are going to fall in love with each other. Which is also true in the books. She is originally off-put by Percy, and they do end up falling in love, but the difference is that Annabeth's arc in the book is much, like, miles more, like, what the fuck am I trying to say? Annabeth's arc in the book is better executed by miles. Yes, they do end up falling in love, but Rick Riordan decided to hold off on that reveal, and for a good reason. By the end of the story, in the book and in the movie, yes, Annabeth and Percy have gotten so much closer, but they're not, yo, let's make out in front of other people close. And it's not even like it services the plot of the movies, because in the second movie, they don't act like a couple. They don't talk about being a couple. They're not a couple by the beginning of the second movie. The kiss was thrown in there because they had two exceedingly hot actors and they wanted to see them make out a little. But this is a trio, and we've only spoke about Percy and Annabeth, so we have to talk about Grover. I actually kind of like Grover in this movie. Wait. Hear me out. Let me cook. Honestly, Grover's kind of good comedy, like comic relief for a movie that came out in 2010. If you compare him to how he is in the book and in like the TV show, yes, he is so much worse, and he's like really stupid, and he kind of pisses me off in this movie, but I don't know what it is about. Like, it could be the actor who's playing him. Like, he could just be like super charismatic, but I really like Grover in this movie. Like, his dialogue, oh, it is so ass. But honestly, like, Brandon T. Jackson is at least attempting to choose some sort of scenery, which is honestly more than you can say about Percy and Annabeth's actors. At times, Grover is comically stupid, like when he tries to bribe Charon with like actual like USD, fully knowing that he only takes golden drachma, and his dialogue gets very old very fast. But Brandon Jackson is at least trying, and him trying makes Grover so entertaining just to watch. Whoa! For a couple of minutes, and then it's like watching Grover for an entire movie is like watching one of those like 3-hour Vine compilations where it's like, oh, at first it's like, oh, this is kind of funny, and then it gets so fucking old so fucking fast. Another thing that I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring it up, I absolutely hate Hades and Persephone's relationship in this movie. Now, I don't know how their relationship is in the book series, but in this movie specifically, I absolutely hate the way they treat each other. Now, Greek mythology is one of those things where you'll hear 7 different ways of telling one story, and one of the main offenders of this is the story of the Hades and Persephone. Now, I believe most people subscribe to the line of thinking that Hades kidnapped Persephone and kept her there by force. Now, I personally subscribe to the line of thinking that Zeus was the one who kidnapped Persephone as a gift for Hades, and once Hades had realized how wrong it was, he tried all he could to remedy the situation, but he couldn't just give her back since she was already technically dead. Is Hades still an asshole in this version of the story? Yes, but so are all the Greek gods, honestly. But if you look at other Greek myths that include Hades and Persephone, for the most part, their marriage is fine. Hades doesn't cheat on Persephone, and Persephone doesn't cheat on Hades. For all intensive purposes, they're content being with each other. I personally dislike works of fiction in which Hades is seen as a bad guy, especially since Hades only tried to overthrow Olympus once, and it wasn't even his idea, it was Hera's. The only works of fiction that I like in which Hades is the bad guy is the Hercules musical and the musical Hadestown. And in Hadestown, he ends the musical being a good person, so take that how you will. All of this to say that I dislike Hades and Persephone in this movie. Especially since in the book, Hades only cares about getting his helmet back. Like, he honestly doesn't care if Percy is or isn't the lightning thief. He really just wants his helm of darkness back. But in the movie, he wants to overthrow Olympus, which is dumb. Honestly, I just wanted to take this little section to rant about Hades and Persephone, since they have the most functional relationship out of all the Greek gods, and I feel like this movie really took a shit on all of that. So, fuck this movie. 2 middle fingers up. Also, their depiction of the underworld is just hell, and that's not what Hades is. So, once again, 2 middle fingers up. Fuck this movie. Also, Persephone kind of wants to fuck Grover, and that makes me very uncomfy. So, once again, 2 middle fingers up. Fuck this movie. But Rosario Dawson is hot in this movie, and is, fun fact, only 4 years older than the guy who played Grover. I didn't know that until doing research for this specific video. Which, yeah, Rosario Dawson is kind of hot though. Now to get into some things that I actually like about this movie. So after watching this movie as a fully fledged adult, I realized that one of the only reasons that I liked this movie as a kid was because of the Lotus Casino. First of all, the music fucking bumping. I'm not even a Gaga fan, but oh my god, Poker Face just works so well for the theme. Like, immaculate. The flavors are melting on my tongue. I can say, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I enjoyed the Lotus Casino segment of the story more in the movie than I did in the book. I honestly wish it would have gone on for a little longer before the chase scene, which the chase scene is also fucking sick. However, I do have a couple questions. Well, statement first. Percy was on the cusp of figuring out that something was wrong before Poseidon started speaking to him, but whatever, you can take that, big dog. Second of all, in the only instance of Poseidon actually helping on this quest, he waits a full 5 days before telling Percy that something is wrong with the Lotus Casino. Now, of course, in the group, it feels like it's only been a couple of hours, but Poseidon literally sat there and watched them sit in the Lotus Casino for 5 days before saying anything about it, and that's pretty fucked up, especially since he knows that if Percy doesn't get to Mount Olympus, that war is gonna start. Also, Annabeth's supposed to be the well-read member of the group, right? If Percy has a question about the gods or a myth, he usually asks Annabeth, and she usually has an answer for him. This includes her telling him about the lair of the Lotus Eaters, aka the Lotus Casino. Now, I guess you could make the argument that, well, she only realizes it in hindsight, but this is a huge, big-ass fuck you casino that is called the Lotus Casino that has basic, like, ancient Greek architecture. I'm sure she could have seen some parallels. And I think, like, the best way to work around that specifically is just not to have her say the line. Like, in the book, she doesn't say anything. Percy gets them out of the casino and they just keep walking. Like, in the book, she couldn't have warned them because she didn't know it was the lair of the Lotus Eaters. But she does in the movie, so she just looks dumb. It's a very obvious trap and she falls for it. However, the sequence itself was definitely my favorite part and the most nostalgic part of this movie for me personally. Another thing that I really like about this movie is the fact that the War of the Gods actually has like physical effects on the world. In the book, they allude to the fact that if the gods go to war, it would start World War III. However, in the movie, there's a tangible change in the world's makeup, right? In the movie, there's like this huge like cloud that is engulfing the entire world. Like it spans from like America to Europe. It's a huge thundercloud. You can tell that the gods are mad. There are actual tangible consequences to the gods gearing up for war. It's not just the vague threat of there could be a World War III because of it. Honestly, that is all of the good things that I can say about the first Percy Jackson and the Olympians movie. This movie honestly will now and forever hold a dear place in my heart because of its nostalgic value to me. But honestly, it's a terrible fucking movie, and I can understand why Percy Jackson fans were upset when it came out in 2010. This is a bad adaptation of the book, with its own story and characters that are so different that they're practically new. And I can understand people who love this story and who love these characters getting upset. Now, 14 years removed from this movie coming out, I consider myself a fan of the Percy Jackson book series, and I don't like this movie. But to end this video on a positive note, the new Percy Jackson in the Olympians series on Disney Plus is pretty good. Does it have its problems? Yes. Did it get unreasonable hate before it came out? Yes, but is it a good adaptation of the books for the most part? Also, yes. And it's something that I'm going to go into, yes, but not right now because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I have a class tomorrow. Or when I wake up, I guess. So, but thank you all for watching my video and I will catch y'all in the next one.